Welcome to Dashing Dish. I'm a recipe creator, and there are days that even I don't want to cook. So for those days that you really don't want to turn on the oven or stove, I've got a full no cooking required menu just for you. Our no cook menu includes strawberry shortcake overnight oats, giving you a dessert-like breakfast packed with protein. Bringing you back to my childhood with my favorite chicken cheddar and broccoli hot pockets. Greek chicken pasta-less salad, swapping out the pasta with a surprise ingredient. And loaded with protein and no sugar added, no bake oatmeal cookies. I'm Katie Farrell. We're preparing healthy meals with no cooking required. So in today's show, we're going to talk about recipes that you can make from breakfast to dinner and all in between with no cooking required. And let me tell you, as a busy mom who homeschools, runs a business, is raising 2 little kids, and a wife that runs a home, I really appreciate no cooking required, especially when it gets warm. So I'm going to share one of my personal favorite recipes to have for breakfast without any cooking required. What I love about this recipe is you can make it ahead of time and it stays good for 5 days in your fridge. It's also loaded with fiber and protein, which is really good to keep you satisfied throughout the day in the start of your day. So this is my strawberry shortcake protein oatmeal. And this is oatmeal that you can serve warm or cold. You just make it and you can either put it in your fridge and serve it cold, or you can pull it out of your fridge in the morning and you can warm it up if you prefer it warm. For this recipe, you'll need 3/4 cup of almond milk, 1/2 cup of Greek yogurt, 1½ cup of strawberries, 1 cup of old-fashioned oats, 1/4 cup of protein powder, 2 tablespoons of sweetener, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So I have some strawberries, about a cup in a bowl that I already cut up. And I'm just gonna give them a good mash here. You don't have to mash them perfectly, but I will tell you that the main thing you wanna do when you're mashing them up is you wanna get some juice out of them, because that juice is really gonna flavor your oatmeal. And this is what makes it almost like a strawberry shortcake, is all of that strawberry juice. You could also use frozen strawberries for this, but if you do use frozen, you'll definitely wanna thaw them out ahead of time. And if you find that it's a little bit too much juice just because they're frozen, you could always strain them just a little bit. But I like using fresh for this recipe, so if it is summertime or spring and there are beautiful strawberries, that's the perfect time to use this recipe. So that looks good. I'm gonna just mash them up. And I just have a potato masher here, but you can use anything really. Even the back of a measuring cup would be great for this. That looks good. Okay, so we're gonna set those aside and then we're gonna dice up our strawberries. I have about 1 more cup of strawberries and we're gonna dice them up just in a small enough piece that you would wanna just take a bite of a strawberry. So kind of your own personal choice or preference. And I have a lot of the no-bake oatmeal recipes on Dashing Dish because I've found many ways to kind of change up the flavor of these, because it really is such a convenient breakfast that's so good for you. You have your whole grain oats here, you have your protein from the protein powder, the Greek yogurt, so it really is a really well-balanced breakfast. And what I love about it is, like I said, you can meal prep it ahead of time. No cooking required. You can just take this with you on the go and just eat it cold straight out of the fridge. So then I'm just stirring up those strawberries with the mashed strawberries, and I'm gonna add the rest of my ingredients to the bowl. So we have some Greek yogurt. This makes it really creamy and kind of like a whipped cream flavor to it with the strawberries, which is really, really good. And then some protein powder. If you don't like whey protein powder, you could always find a vegan protein powder, whatever you like. I just look for ones with really simple ingredients. And then just some almond milk. And then we're just gonna stir this up. So breakfast has to be easy. So I like to do things like this that I can just make ahead of time, or do something really simple like yogurt bowls or smoothies. I also like to make some sourdough recipes ahead of time, like cinnamon rolls that I can just pull out of the fridge and just warm up. So we're gonna kind of just pour this into our bowl here. And it looks like it's pretty liquidy right now, but as it sits in the fridge overnight, and you will wanna leave this in the fridge for at least 4 hours before you eat it, those oats are gonna soak up all of that liquid, and they're gonna get nice and soft, kind of like an oatmeal texture, and some of that liquid will thicken up, and it will be so delicious. So doesn't that look good? So then you'll just wanna cover these. You'll wanna put them in the fridge for, like I said, at least 4 hours, but I always do it the night before or a few nights before, and then it will just thicken up and it will be so delicious. Perfect way to start your day. So now I'm on to a no cooking lunch, and I love this for lunch because it's so easy. You can, again, make this ahead of time and pull it out of your fridge for lunchtime, and there's no cooking required because we are making broccoli chicken hot pockets. And it is a hot pocket after all. So you might want to just throw them in the microwave for about 30 seconds or so just to warm it up, but that's not really cooking anyway. For this recipe, you'll need 1 pound of chicken, 1.5 cups of chicken broth, 4 cups of broccoli, 1/2 cup of Greek yogurt, 1.5 cup of shredded cheddar, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 4 tortillas. So we start with some cooked shredded chicken. Now you can use a rotisserie chicken, so you truly don't have to cook anything and just pull the meat off, or you can even just make shredded chicken in your crock pot. And to me, a crock pot really isn't cooking. You just put the chicken in a crock pot with the chicken broth and you let it cook, and then you just shred it with 2 forks. So very simple. So I started with 1 pound of chicken that I cooked with chicken broth in the crock pot. And then to this is what makes it our broccoli chicken cheddar hot pockets. We have some cooked broccoli. And this broccoli has already been steamed. You can start with frozen broccoli that you just thaw out, or you can just steam some fresh broccoli. And I'm just gonna kind of cut it with some kitchen scissors, just a little bit, just to get the florets in there, because I really don't want any really big chunks of broccoli. So you wanna cook it just until it's tender so that you can kind of mix it in with the chicken. And I have to say, this is a recipe that brings me back to my childhood. My mom gave us Hot Pockets all the time and we loved them. And it wasn't until my teen years that I really started to kind of feel like I was unsure what was healthy and what wasn't. And it was in my teen years that I headed down the road of eating disorders. And I really didn't know that I was even going through anorexia at the time. It all just kind of started when a boy was bullying me at school. And he started to make fun of me, saying, "This is what you look like," drawing pictures of me that were just horrendous pictures. And I started to honestly believe what he was saying and what he was drawing. So up until that point, I was about 14. I'd never really noticed my body or even thought about body image things until that point. And that was when I started to really think about everything that I was eating and thinking, okay, how can I eat in order to change my body, in order to, change how I look? And that's when eating disorders really started to manifest in my life. So I didn't know a thing, like I said, about healthy eating. I just kind of always ate very free. I was carefree as a kid with my body. And then I suddenly started to become more and more obsessed. And I would not eat anything that was my childhood favorites anymore. And that's when my mom started to think, okay, something's wrong. Something's going on with Katie here, because she's not eating what the family's eating. She's not eating what she once loved. And that was when she noticed there was a problem. Unfortunately, being a teenager, I really didn't want to talk about it. I hid it very well. I didn't want to go to a doctor or a counselor and talk to anyone about it. And again, I didn't really even think I had a problem. And so a few years went by. My anorexia turned into bulimia. And so I dealt with it kind of in different ways and kind of tried to always conform and shape my body by restricting, by binging, by purging, different ways with food and exercise. And ultimately, when I turned 18 years old, that was when my sisters kind of confronted me, and they did an intervention and they said, Katie, we know what you're doing. And they had tears streaming down their faces. And it was in that moment that it was like my eyes opened for the very first time. And I started to actually see the pain that I was causing, not only my sisters, but myself. And I realized that I really did have a problem. So my sisters and I, that day, we prayed together sitting on my bed. And I always say it was like a true miracle transformation happened on the inside that very day. It felt like I was in some kind of prison and the gates of that prison were opened. And suddenly I could see my way out. But it wasn't just instant, miraculous, overnight healing. I really did have to go through a journey of healing. And that really started with me opening my Bible and just pouring out my heart to God, saying, God, I want to change. I want to be free, but how do I do it? And so I opened up my Bible to Romans 12, 1 through 2. And it talks about becoming a living sacrifice and surrendering and submitting your body to God. And I didn't know exactly what that meant or how to do that, but I just knew that my first step was by, changing the way that I thought, the way that the world thinks, and the way that the world says that you should act and behave, and really start to renew my mind with the Word of God and surrender and submit everything, my body, all my desires, all my cares to God, and allow His Word to transform me from the inside out. And it did take a few years of walking that out, but as I continued to just renew my mind with God's Word and surrender everything to Him, He really did change me from the inside out, and it was His Word that really transformed me. So these Hot Pockets are honestly such a proof of what God has done in my life, because it was something that I loved that I've now turned nourishing and healthier, and I enjoy all the time, and I get to enjoy them with my family. So these look great. I just simply took the filling and I wrapped it up in some tortillas, as you saw. And then if you want, like I said, you can either warm these in the microwave just before eating them, or you can then warm them in an oven or a skillet just so that they're browned kind of on the outside and warm in the center. They're gonna be absolutely delicious. Coming up next, Greek chicken pasta-less salad. That's right, pasta-less. Chicken, crunchy veggies, and a surprise replacement for pasta that will satisfy. So now we're on to my Greek chicken pasta-less salad, and this is a recipe that when I created it, I made over and over on repeat because it was one of my favorites and still is. Now, that may not seem like a big deal, but I will tell you, when it comes to me making recipes, I'm always making new recipes. So I often don't repeat anything. I just kind of make it and then I'm done with it. I move on. But if I make it, especially on repeat, that's how you know it's a really good recipe, or at least in my opinion. I love this one. For this recipe, you'll need 1/2 of a red onion, 1 red bell pepper, 1 yellow bell pepper, 1 English cucumber, 1 container of feta cheese, 1 can of chickpeas, 2 cups of cooked chicken, and 1/3 cup of Greek dressing. So one of the things that really I started to learn when I started cooking and making food that was nutritious is I started to pay attention to how does my body feel. And I really believe that was just wisdom from the Lord, because instead of me focusing on how does my body look, I started to think about how does this make my body feel? And that gave me a whole new approach to food and healthy living. And it gave me an approach that was honestly, I believe, really honoring to God, because I started to think about, well, what did God make for me to eat? How does God want me to be healthy? Instead of how do I want to look? How do I want to eat in order to conform my body to a certain image? And so it really did change my approach with how I fed myself and how I took care of myself. And I started to think about, okay, what are some foods that I know God made for me to eat? And so now I like to call that kind of food God-made food. And that's what I teach my kids to this day, is I just say, did God make this? If he did, then we know it will make our bodies feel the very best. So when it comes to things like pasta and breads, if I'm not making it homemade, a lot of the times I just like to cut it out of a recipe. And the reason why is because a lot of the times I just find it doesn't make me feel my very best. Why is that? Because most bread and most pasta from the store is a little bit processed, and it has a lot of ingredients that, God didn't necessarily make. And so I don't feel my best when I eat a lot of the breads and pastas. That doesn't mean I never eat them. I do. I eat everything in balance and everything on occasion. But when it comes to the bulk of my diet and what I eat, I will say that most of it is God-made foods. So eating things like protein, so chicken breast in this recipe, chickpeas, veggies, feta cheese, all of those things are things that are very simple, straight from a farm or from a garden, and they really do make me feel my best. And so that's how I kind of learned over time to feed my body without going on a diet, without being any kind of restriction or eating disorder. I just started to think, how can I eat the way God originally intended? And I have found that by doing that, not only do I feel my best, but I really do feel like my body and my weight is pretty well maintained, even through all the years of having babies and getting older. I'm almost in my 40s and things like that, that normally would just kind of devastate a woman as far as like how they feel about their body. I've been able to just feel like no matter how my body looks, whatever shape it takes, as long as I know I'm fueling it and I'm taking care of it the way God intended and focusing on how I overall feel, that ultimately motivates me to have a really healthy mindset. And that's what's really important. So you can see how easy this Greek pasta-less salad is, because you just add everything to a bowl. I just chopped up a few veggies, and then we're just gonna kind of mix it together. And I absolutely love the fact that this has protein and fiber, and it just tastes so good. And it's so fresh. It stays good in your fridge for up to 5 full days. So there was no cooking required. Again, you can buy rotisserie chicken, or you can just cook your chicken in a crock pot ahead of time and shred it up. And it is especially good on a spring or a summer day when the weather's a little bit hot and you don't want to cook anything. So we're going to mix that all together, and then we're going to add our dressing. Now, this is kind of a cheat. I just bought some pre-made dressing, but you can definitely find plenty of dressing recipes on Dashing Dish or just on the internet in general. Very simple dressing recipes out there that you could make your own Greek dressing. But we did just find a organic Greek dressing right at the store. We're gonna add a 1/3 cup of that. Then we're gonna stir in the dressing. And you could add the dressing even up to 5 days ahead of time, because there's no lettuce. It will not wilt, it won't get soggy. In fact, I think it tastes better as the days go on. It's just gonna kind of lightly give all of those vegetables a nice flavor. And I love the feta cheese in this salad as well. So how good does that look? And this is guaranteed to make your body feel so good, and you're gonna absolutely love how it tastes. Well satisfied all around. Coming up next, a snack for any time of the day made with real ingredients and whole grains, these no-bake protein oatmeal cookies are guaranteed to satisfy those sweet tooth cravings. Okay, so now we're on to dessert, my favorite part of the day, no-bake protein oatmeal cookies. And these are truly no-bake cookies, and they're going to blow your mind how good they are. And I love the fact that they are also nutritious, of course. For this recipe, you'll need 1 cup of oat flour, 1 cup of old-fashioned oats, 1/2 cup of peanut flour, 1/2 cup of maple syrup, 1 cup of nut butter, 1/4 cup of sweetener, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1/4 cup of chocolate chips. So we're gonna add all of the dry ingredients to the bowl. They're also flourless. We have oat flour, but essentially those are just oats that are ground up, so flourless cookies. Just a little bit of some sweetener. And we also have some protein in these cookies. So we have some natural sweetener with some maple syrup and some healthy fats with peanut butter. I absolutely love these cookies because this is something that I made when I was a kid. And my sister and I, my mom had a daycare, and we would go in the basement after hours in the daycare, and we would make our own experimental treats. And this is something that I remember trying to make with her when we were probably about 8 and 10 years old. So she was about 8, I was 10. And we tried to make no-bake cookies. And I remember we tried to make them so that we could sell them at a like little bake sale at the end of our driveway. So we said, we're gonna create our own little bake sale and we're gonna sell these with some lemonade. I don't remember how they turned out, but I remember making a huge mess, and my mom was very upset when she came downstairs, and I'm sure it was probably rightfully so, because I remember using peanut butter and syrup. So I can't imagine how they turned out, but I guarantee you we made a huge mess. But this is something that we made a lot as kids. And again, just kind of going back to my story of recreating things that I really loved as a kid, and just even as I was growing up in a healthier way, really helped heal my relationship with my body and with food. And I've always loved dessert. So I've always loved sweets. That's been always kind of something that I feel like I need at the end of my day, is just something sweet. So finding something that is sweet but also nutritious and fueling to my body, it has been super helpful and healing for me. So you're just gonna kind of wanna stir this just until the cookies come together. Now, depending on the protein powder you use, it may be just a little bit dry. So that's what I feel this time. I feel like because of the protein powder that I used, it's just a little bit dry, or the peanut flour. Everything as far as protein powder, peanut flour, kind of mixes up a little bit different. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of water, and just like maybe a tablespoon, and that looks perfect. So that's kind of coming together nicely now. So now we're gonna just kind of roll this into balls. So for me, finding something that had peanut butter, chocolate, protein, and made me feel good, but also tasted really good was important to me. Now, when I was learning how to kind of properly fuel my body in a way that was healthy, one of the things that I struggled with was kind of listening to my body, because I spent so many years where I shut off all ability to listen to my hunger signals. And I find that a lot of women that have gone through dieting or disordered eating of any kind has done the same. So a lot of women write me and they say, how do you know when you've had enough food? A lot of times people are so used to counting calories or going on diets, listening to what people say they should eat rather than listening to their body. And I always say it's really simple. You just go back to how you were when you were a kid. If you really and truly start to tune in and listen to when are you full, when are you feeling satisfied, that will really help you to clue in, okay, I probably should put my fork down now. I've probably had enough to eat. And you might think that that's a really hard thing to do at first, but over time, it gets easier and easier. And I will say that is part of feeling your best as well, is listening to your body. Because if you don't eat enough, or if you overeat, it really is quite draining for your body, either end of those spectrums. So finding that proper sweet spot where you really feel satisfied and you feel like you're well nourished is so good for feeling like you feel your very best. So this is gonna make anywhere from probably 12 to 15 balls. And then you can pop them in your fridge or in your freezer. In the fridge, they'll stay good for probably about 2 weeks. The freezer, about 3 months. And then you can pull them out of your fridge and freezer and just eat them just as is. They are absolutely delicious, and I actually love them when they're cold. So this is a great treat to have as a snack or after dinner or anytime you just need something sweet. Well, if you're anything like me and there are days that you just don't want to turn on a stove, but you still want to make something healthy and also satisfying, I hope that these recipes today inspired you to find ways to cook without actually cooking. So we have all of these recipes and more just like it on dashingdish.com, where you'll find recipes to nourish your body and soul.